Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of Julie and Scott on Comics. We got graphics, right?
I didn't even
Pretty
see
fancy.
that.
It's backwards on our screen.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be backwards when it makes it to YouTube.
We hope.
We hope, but I don't know for sure.
Ooh.
Okay, so anyway, for this episode we read Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon. First off, it's May 14th, so we want to say hi to our moms. Happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. Thank you very much for making this all possible.
Yes.
Well, before we talk about Hawkeye, let's talk about, we were just chatting about the some of the comic book stuff that's out there in the popular culture right now. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we've both seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And it was fun, but it was maybe a little bit too long. It was like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
We saw the late show at 11 after we'd done a bunch of stuff that day. And man, by the time that movie was over, we were both kind of like, huh? And on top of the fact that there's 5 post-credit scenes, and you gotta stay and watch the post-credit scenes now, or you miss out. So, man, by the time that movie was over, we were ready for that movie to be over.
Yeah, like for me, like the first half was kind of just a letdown. It picked up a lot.
Yeah.
I thought, but the first part was I was kind of emotionally checked out.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
wasn't.
like it.
Yeah, there didn't really seem to be much conflict at the beginning of it. Oh, I forgot to turn my timer on. It was fun, but it was just a little bit too much of it. Man, what do we know about making movies?
It's true.
It's already made like $600 million, so not like they need us to approve of it. The trailer for Ragnarok. Have you seen that?
I have seen that. I'm trying to decide if I'm really excited for how stupidly funny it's gonna
It
be.
looks you know what it looks like? Some of the people that have seen it said it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
It does.
And it feels like they're kind of going for that vibe, for a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit out in space. That thing where Mjolnir gets shattered.
Yes.
That was a big deal for me. I really liked the scene of Cate Blanchett as, I don't know who it's Hell or Hella, I forget her name exactly, but she's got on that big crazy headdress. That is right out of the comic books. That's exactly how her headdress looks in the comics.
Perfect. Okay.
And there's another scene where there's an Asgardian that's got 2 machine guns, and you just see it for just a second in the trailer, but he's working those machine guns, and that's kind of an iconic image out of a Thor comic book from back in the day. I think it was actually during a Demon War or something, but it's a really cool looking image. It looks fun.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I don't really like the first 2 Thors very much. I love the Thor character, but the movies both were kind of.
They're like Ant-Man. We're like, oh, they're fun to watch, but they're not like Captain America for me.
Ant-Man is a good segue to Hawkeye,
Yes.
because Hawkeye's not saving the world in this one, but it's a fun read. I recently watched Jessica Jones. Julie said she's only seen a little bit of it. Jessica Jones on Netflix it is really grown-up stuff. It's not for kids.
No.
It's not PG-13. It's definitely pushing R ratings. It's interesting. It's really well written. Jessica Jones is much more like a classic hard-boiled TV detective or even a movie detective than a cartoon superhero. She just doesn't seem very superheroic.
Yeah.
It didn't have much of a superhero feel to it, but I really enjoyed it.
No,
It just wasn't what I expected.
And I only watched it because David Tennant was it. I knew he was in
He was
it.
so good as in the comics they call him the Purple Man or Kilgrave, and in this one he was just Kilgrave. In the comics he's actually purple.
Oh.
Yeah, his skin, his hair, his eyes, everything purple. But he does the same stuff where he compels people to do awful things. And wow, and there were lots of layers of feminism and the matriarch versus the patriarch and stuff like that I thought was really, really subtle and hinted at and really well done. Though all exemplified by Tennant's character.
Okay.
And they're going to film another season.
Really?
I don't know how they're going to top David Tennant as a bad guy, because he was so good as a bad guy. He was just so. At times he would be reasonable and charming and chipper, and other times he was just horrible and awful and psychotic. And man, I don't know how you top that. The guy really nailed it.
Exactly. That's why I kind of stopped it because it made me hate him.
He
'Cause
did.
He was so well played. I'm like, I can't. Like,
And he seems like such a charming individual. Yeah, he was so good as Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just so awful in this. Yeah, I could see where you'd want to change it. And then just a quick mention of the DC TV versus Marvel TV. The Marvel TV is all kind of grown-up stuff, and on Netflix, there's Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Daredevil, and then there's going to be the Defenders. And they were even talking about more coming out. Like I think I saw a thing where Cloak and Dagger are going to get a show.
Okay.
There's some pretty obscure characters from the 80s.
I don't know those.
I barely know anything about them.
Okay.
And that stuff kind of seems all grown up and gritty and tries to have a realistic, hard edge to it. And the DC stuff, like Supergirl and Flash and Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, that's all really popular. It's on CW, and when it's on the CW, it doesn't have to get huge ratings. Like when Supergirl was on CBS, man, to stay on CBS, you got to get big ratings.
Okay.
But on
Makes
CW,
sense.
you can pull in like a little, like 600,000 viewers or whatever, and stay on the air for 10 years. And it allows them to do more stuff and not have to worry about the ratings. And those shows have a really innocent feel to them. They're much more like aimed at a comic middle school grade comic book audience than
like
the
Smallville.
yeah, exactly.
Living the life.
Yeah, it's those formulaic CW shows. CW knows what they're doing. They've made those shows. They've just turned them into that formula CW show. Okay, so Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon. We both like this. The art at the beginning, I was a little bit surprised. The art is kind of a little crude. It's not super hyper detailed. It's good looking artwork. It reminds me a little bit of Mike Mignola or Mignola. I don't know. I think it's Mignola. But the guy that does Hellboy, it's not super detailed, but it kind of fits the character of Hawkeye because Hawkeye's a little crude.
Yeah.
Like you get the feeling Hawkeye doesn't hold his pinky out when he drinks his tea, you know.
Exactly. That's
And-
why I kind of like it.
And I like that too. And there's male Hawkeye and then there's female Hawkeye, but they're both Hawkeye.
Yes.
That's a little complicated. They're fighting through most of it, they're fighting the Eastern European mob apparently, and Hawkeye calls them tracksuit Draculas because they all wear tracksuits and they all speak with a thicker Eastern European accent, so he calls them tracksuit Dracula. It's pretty funny. The banter between the two of them was really good.
Yeah.
Remember how I talked about like when we read that X-Men book and that banter? You didn't like the banter because it was a little bit too.
Yeah, in your face, I felt like.
A little bit too cheeky, a little bit too smart for its own good. And that was like when Joss Whedon when he used to write those shows back in the day, like Buffy and Angel, the conversations that those characters had felt so realistic, like that's really how people talk. Whereas like George Lucas's stuff, it's the exact opposite. That's not how people speak, George.
Really? You don't care for it?
In the first, when 4, 5, 6 came out when I was a little kid, I didn't think twice about it. But then when the prequels came out when I was in my 20s, and I will not stand for the rules to be put up in committee. And I was like, dude, come on, that's not how people talk. I winced more than once at the dialogue.
Okay.
But I guess the dialogue, it was stilted in the first three, and I just didn't notice it because I was a kid. I loved it so much.
Yeah, that's true. You want to pick up on that.
But this is not like that. This is, at least through the first 3/4 of it, the banter was really good. It seemed really believable. I really liked it. But then we both noticed a change at the end, like in the last quarter of the book. All of a sudden, the art gets really slick. It's much more of that slick 90s art. But now that it's 2017, I guess that's not the greatest thing in the world. But the character of female Hawkeye, her name is Kate Bishop, she immediately became like a two-dimensional, petulant, spoiled brat who at one point crosses her arm she crosses her arms because she doesn't get her way. And through the first part of the book, she was really believable and three-dimensional and she was a compelling character. And then at the end, all of a sudden, she seemed like a stock character from a CW show.
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
Yeah, I didn't care for that either. And so we were both talking about this before we started shooting. I just assumed that Matt Fraction, who wrote the beginning of it, didn't write the end of it. Matt Fraction wrote the whole thing. I didn't quite get that, how he would change that it was, I don't know. Didn't it feel like the end of the book chronologically was before the beginning of the book?
Yeah,
I
never
kind of have
know.
that feeling. Like she didn't know Hawkeye as well.
Yeah, that's when there's like different drawn issues of comics in the back of the novel. I never know how it goes.
Where does
in
it
the
come
universe.
chronologically in the,
'Cause
yeah.
sometimes like each artist, each writer can take something totally different from
Yep.
the character and be like, no, I want to write it this kind of way.
Absolutely.
And you don't know how it fits in.
Yeah, and it was presented in this after the story, so you figure, oh, well, it must come chronologically, but it had a different feel to it, like it was, I don't know, before that or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the last part of the book was my least favorite. I really liked the beginning of it.
Beginning was good. And like one of the reasons I chose this was because when I first watched Avengers, Hawkeye was my favorite.
Was he really?
I don't know why, because he was in Thor for like
He was in for a second,
Easter
yep.
egg.
Yeah.
And I really liked him, and then I saw this, and like the art really stood out to me, because sometimes with graphic novels, I don't know what's going on, because there's so much happening in each panel, there's no focal point. So, and this one was easier for me to read, which is why I like it.
You know what's interesting you say that? When I took a graphic novel class in grad school, one of the things we did was we read manga, and I always get anime and manga confused. Anime is the movies and manga is the comic books, where you read right to left. And I have to admit, as long as I've been reading comic books, I've read some manga and didn't quite know where to look next.
Yeah.
And it literally, I got taught that because it's presented in a different way than the Western comic books that I'm so used to looking at.
Okay.
But it was, I can relate to that though, because you don't always know where's the next place I'm supposed to look? Does this come after this, or does that come after this?
Like how they correlate with each other, because the vantage point changes a lot for each
Constantly,
panel. They're just side by side, and you don't know. You have to really think about it.
I have problems with that sometimes in movies, especially when it's pixelated computer graphic monsters fighting each other, and it's effortless for the camera to zip around and show the action from different angles. My brain doesn't quite, anyway, not as quite as malleable as it used to be. So what else? Tracksuit Dracula's was funny. Female Hawkeye. Overall, I liked the book, and I thought Female Hawkeye she was a really neat strong female character that wasn't just a two-dimensional female to fill out the picture.
Yeah, just a throw in.
Except at the very end. And at the very end, she kind of felt like a throw in. I thought that was a little disappointing. But I did like the book. We recommend Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon.